opening plan that Dr. Paden will review next is built on the following principles. One, the safety and well-being of our students and faculty is and will always remain our first priority. Second, the trust of our Holy Trinity families place in us is sacred. And with all aspects of our ministry, our planning will move forward with complete transparency and open lines of communication. Simply put, we want the best for your child, and we want to support you in your decision for their best learning environment. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Paden now for his review of the opening plan. Dr. Paden.
Thanks, Tim. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending this meeting. I know all of you have a lot of questions, and we want to get those questions answered today. I'm hoping that some of your questions can be answered just by me simply going to the plan. The plan right now is located on our website. You can also find it on some of our social media platforms like Facebook. But if you want something simple, I would just go straight to the website and feel free to follow along. First, at the beginning of the summer, I assembled two committees. One was for building safety, and the other one was for teaching and learning. The charges for these committees were basically to come up with what we needed in order to make the building completely, well, not completely safe, but as safe as we can possibly make it in light of everything that's going on with COVID-19. The Teaching and Learning Committee, they were charged with figuring out how we would do e-learning. Those of you parents who were with us in the spring, you saw what we did for e-learning, and what you saw is somewhat about what happened throughout the city of Chicago. We want to make sure that our e-learning, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, is where it should be. We want to keep academic rigor. We want to make sure that our students are attending, and we want to make sure that students are still getting the highest level of instruction that Holy Trinity is known for and that we can give. Those were the charges of those committees. But right now, what I want to do is go through our plan. You have it up on your screen. You're more than welcome to follow along with us. Now, first and foremost, we decided to put our student body into 3 different cohorts: a blue, a gold, and an e-learning cohort. Now, many of you, if not all of you, got a message from me last week asking you to choose which cohort you'd like your child to be in. And I think I only gave everybody about 48 hours to do that. I apologize for that because I know some parents wanted some more information. Despite the fact that our plan was up, this is a monumental decision, and more time should have probably been given. So those of you who have not responded yet, we're hoping that you can respond as soon as possible, maybe even after this meeting or tomorrow. And the reason for that is that we have a mass mailing that will go out to all of our families, consisting of your child's schedule, their book list, information about the uniform, a letter from me, and some other materials that you're probably used to getting from us around this time. We want to send that out in one mailing, but we need your help. We need you to tell us if your child will be in the building using our hybrid model, which is in the building 2 days and out 3 days, or will your child be e-learning from home all 5 days of the week? Now, a few of you got a third option in the menu that we sent. And that was those of you who wanted your child to come to the building every day, with the exception of e-learning day, which for most weeks will be Wednesday. We have heard from almost all of you, but there are several of you that still need to contact us. So again, I'd like to ask you guys to go ahead and do that as soon as you can. Now, we split everyone up in cohorts, so we wanted to know who was going to be in the building. A good example to look at this would be the first day of class, which is Wednesday, August 19th, 2020. In the reopening plan, there's a weekly master calendar. In that calendar, it indicates who is to be in the building on that day. So on the first day of class, that is a gold day. What that means is if your child has been designated as a member of the gold cohort, they are to come to the building that day. If your child is a member of the blue cohort, they are to remain home that day. And obviously, if your child is e-learning all 5 days, they too will remain home. Now, I want to get into some specifics about what the days will look like. First and foremost, and I think everyone can guess this, every child and every person in the building is required to use a face covering. That's a mask. We would prefer your child to wear an actual mask. Same types of masks that you see in hospitals. They're being sold at gas stations and Walmart and other places. If for whatever reason your child does not have a mask, we can provide one for them. We've gone ahead and purchased about 2,000 masks. So if your child comes in the building and they don't have one, we can give them one. Everyone needs to wear that mask every day, all day in the building. Number 2, anytime anyone walks in the building, beginning the first day of class, they will have their temperature taken. We have purchased thermometers to do this for us. Our threshold is a temperature of 100.3. Now that sounds a little elevated. It is. But we also recognize right now we're still in summer. And many of our students who live in the area sometimes run to class, or it's really hot out and your temperature is elevated. So long as your temperature is under 100.3, you'll be allowed in the building. However, if your temperature is above 100.3, we will isolate you in one of our designated rooms. Right now, Holy Trinity is in the process of hiring a school nurse. But until the nurse comes aboard, my staff will be handling temperature checks. Now, students will be checked, but so will teachers, so will administrators. Even me must go through a temperature check every single day that we're in the building. In addition to temperature checks, we'll be asking everyone, how are you feeling? Do you have any symptoms that are relevant to COVID-19? Cough, shortness of breath, not feeling well, achy, a sense of loss of smell and taste, among others. If your child tells us that they are suffering from one of these symptoms, even though they don't have a fever, we will still isolate them. We'll check their temperature again, but if these symptoms persist, you'll get a call from us and you'll have to come pick up your child or make arrangements for him or her to go home. We're taking the safety of the building extremely serious, and so if there are any signs or symptoms of COVID-19, your child will probably have to go home there. Now, let's say one of your child or a member of our faculty or staff or administrators comes down with COVID-19. I want everyone to know that this has been the question for all of high school education, certainly for Catholic education around the city of Chicago. I would bet it's also been the question that every high school in America is grappling with. Now, here's what we're going to do. If one person comes down with the virus, student, staff, faculty, or administration, that includes me or Tim, we will shut down for 14 days. What that means is, once the school is alerted, the school will be dismissed and will be shut down, not to reopen for another 14 days. Now, if that's your son or daughter, not only will they have to quarantine for 14 days, but they will have to bring back a medical document that substantiates that they are now negative for COVID-19. I am requiring the same thing for our staff, faculty, and administrators. Earlier today, I sent out to our entire staff some COVID-19 testing sites, as we felt it might be a good idea for all of us to get tested beforehand, before school starts. That is now underway. I will be tested myself tomorrow. But just to reiterate, anyone who tests for COVID-19 comes back positive. You cannot re-enter the building without medical documentation substantiating that you are now negative, and not before 14 days. Unfortunately, testing in Chicago and around the country has become somewhat of an issue. It's taking longer to getting test results back. So if that's the case, that's the case. We don't want to take any chances with anyone in the building that may still be positive. And that's what we'll be doing for self-quarantining. I want to talk about a few things that are relevant to the building itself. Right now, we are installing ceiling fans in every classroom. We understand right now it's very hot outside, and there are certain spots in our building that can get pretty warm. We want to make sure that our students are in a cool place during the warmer months of the year. In addition to the ceiling fans, we've also purchased additional fans to be optionally used by our teachers. They can put it in the window, they could put it on the floor, they can do whatever they want to do with it. In addition, we have bought industrial strength fans to go in our hallway. Our objective is just to make sure that the building is cooler during the hottest days of the year. Some of you have already asked us questions about how we're going to do lunch. And those are very good questions. Our cafeteria will still be the destination for lunch for all of our students, but we've made some significant changes. Number one, there can only be 2 students per table in the cafeteria. Number two, because of our cohort system, we're only going to have half the students in the building that would have been in the cafeteria in the first place. So if we didn't have cohorts on a normal day, we'd have about 150 people going into the cafeteria. Now, it's looking like it's going to be about 40 or 50. Number three, we've put table dividers at each table in the cafeteria, meaning if a child was to cough or to breathe hard, or if they talked loud, or if they sang, the other child on the other end of that table would be safe from any type of aerosols that could travel through the air. Lunch will be ran the same way it always has been, 4th and 5th period. Another popular question that we've gotten is, what are we going to do regarding gym or physical education? I had a meeting with our gym teachers a couple weeks ago, and I spoke to them about what we were going to have to do. First, for the first 6 weeks of the semester, gym class will be held outside away from the building. We're going to be doing some low impact stretching, flexibility exercises, things that students can still get a quality physical education for, but away from the building and in a manner that doesn't cause them to perspire. Number three, Once we get into October, and I believe the date is the second week of October, the second Monday in that month, we will come back into the building. We'll also come back into the building if we have inclement weather. That means if it's raining pretty hard outside and we're still in August, we'll be back in the building. But because of the cohorts, we're not expecting more than 10 to 12 students in each gym class. What that does is allow us to effectively socially distance while we're in gym. And not for 6 feet, but for 10 feet. And that's what I've instructed our physical education teachers to do. Now, the usage of the locker rooms will not be permitted. What that means is that your child cannot change for gym. They can't use the lockers really for any reason, as we have been advised not to do so. So what that means is that your child, when they have gym class, can come to school dressed in their gym uniform. We're going to allow that type of flexibility because we know they can't shower. But we wanted them to be able to go right to gym without having to go to a locker room already dressed. Next, I want to spend a moment talking about how we were going to clean the building every day. Now, the pieces that'll be cleaned every day are within the classrooms. Each desk and/or common area in each class will be wiped down not only every day, but after every single class. We've gone ahead and purchased about $1,000 worth of cleaning materials to do this function for us. We're using a combination of Lysol wipes, Clorox bleach, and other cleaning sprays to make sure that each desk and chair is wiped down. In addition to that, Holy Trinity has purchased huge industrial cleaning sprayers where we can spray the entire building. We've purchased 2, and right now we're talking to our janitorial staff on a regimen on how we will do this. The one day we know it will happen will be e-learning day. And if you consort with your master schedule on our website, that's about 90% of the time going to fall on a Wednesday, which means every Wednesday, the entire building will be cleaned top to bottom, in addition to do what we're doing every day in class. School entry. Now, the building opens at 7 a.m. every day. So we want to talk to parents about telling your child and maybe even adjusting your schedule where they get here no earlier than 7 o'clock. Now, if you don't have a choice on that and your child is going to come here at 6:45, that's fine. But we want to talk a little bit about where your child will go once they get here. We've designated some areas for them so that they can go to while they wait for the school day to begin. The first area is going to be the cafeteria, and that's a no-brainer because a lot of our kids like to go there to eat breakfast. Another area is going to be our resource learning center, which doesn't hold a lot of students, but is also there as a resource where tutors and our coordinator will be to help students if they're struggling academically. They can go there if they need extra help before class. In addition to that, when it's time to go home, when the bell rings, myself and the rest of the staff will be ushering students out of the building. We can't afford any students to loiter or remain in the building when school is not in session. Now, if a student had an academic problem or needed to speak with a teacher or any of our tutors, they are more than welcome to stay. And if they're in a club or an organization and they're having a meeting, they too are also welcome to stay. But they have to be somewhere. If they're in the hallway and it doesn't appear they have any destination to be, we'll be asking them to leave the building. Now, the next portion I really want to talk about is e-learning. As I mentioned earlier, e-learning in the spring was something that all high schools had to convert to in a matter of days. And you may have noticed that your child may have been given readings, homework assignments, and other work just to do at home. In the fall, e-learning will look vastly different. First, we have outfitted every classroom with a camera. What that means is that while a teacher is teaching and giving instruction, any student that is at home will receive an invite to tap into that class for instruction. It'll be like they're here with us, only they'll be at home. That is going to be happening in about 95% of our classes. The other 5% are going to be using things like a video cast or pre-recorded video of the teacher giving instruction, along with some other computer applications that we used in the spring and that we'll be adding for the fall. Those computer applications you might have heard of, things like Flipgrid, Loom. These are things that we use and that we will be using on e-learning day, which is slightly different from e-learning for the cohorts. And I'll be separating that in a minute. We want to make sure that you and your child know that there will be 5 days of instruction every single day. And if your child is at home, we expect them to go to their computer and sign in for each period as if they were in the building. So your child will be going to first period, second period, all the way through 8th period, just as they would if they were in the building. Now, I have some e-learning expectations that I want to go over, and we really need your help to ensure that your child does them. Because if they don't, there will be appropriate consequences to that. We want to make sure that the academic rigor is still within Holy Trinity, as it always has been. I only know this because I'm an alumnus of this school, and it was tough when I was here. Students must always, always attend class. If they're at home, they must attend class. The first thing I'd love for parents to do is to identify a place in the home where your student can attend class comfortably and every day. Number 2, we want to make sure that our students are dressed appropriately for e-learning class. Now, that doesn't mean that they have to wear their uniform, but they can't be bare-chested. They can't have their pajamas on. They have to be fully dressed and attend class. When they're in class, like you are right now, looking at me through your laptop or your computer, their camera has to be on because the teacher needs to be able to see their face. And that's the biggest way we're going to be looking at attendance this year. Before this meeting started, you probably saw my box and it only had my name on it. That can't happen with the students. We need to see their face. We need to make sure that their camera is on. Now, we're going to teach all the students this during the days of August 17th and 18th. On the 17th, we're going to bring in the freshmen for freshman orientation, as well as August 18th. Transfer students will go on the 17th as well. But on Tuesday, August 18th, we will bring in sophomores, juniors, and seniors and go over this with them as well. And parents, we will be inviting you to another orientation for you to specifically talk about how this year is going to go, but also for e-learning and a few other things that we want to go over. Number 3, all microphones on their laptop or their Chromebook need to be turned off. Now, a teacher could ask them to turn it on if, let's say, your child had a question or something that they wanted to say in class. And that would be fine. But for the majority of the class, we're asking for their mic to be turned off. And if they do want to communicate, they can via the chat box, the same way some of you have been communicating with us. Now, assignments, quizzes, exams, anything that your student has to turn in, they must turn in. And they must turn in by whenever the due date is. Just because they're at home doesn't mean that they're going to be extensions for assignments or exams, unless there's a really big reason why. All right. Now, I want to talk a little bit about e-learning day, which is different than what I just mentioned. What I just mentioned causes for the usage of cameras, causes for the usage of your students being in attendance and attending class every single period. Now, on e-learning day, everyone is out of the building. The only people that probably will be here are the people that you see right now in front of you. The faculty and the students will be at home, in large part because we want to clean the building. On those days, teachers can still opt to send a Zoom meeting like this one to your child, and that'll be class for that day. But other teachers might also opt to use one of our computer applications. There might be a video cast, there might be a PowerPoint presentation, there might be something on YouTube. There'll be something that'll be delivered to your child via some electronic device right into the Chromebook. And we need your child and your student to attend. All right? So that's a quick glance of what our plan is for this year. We have received some questions from you guys over the last week. And at this point, we're going to answer. Tim, you want to take the first one?
Sure. Charles, do you want to read the question and I'll be happy to answer?
Absolutely. So thank you all for submitting your questions. The first question that we got that a lot of people had asked is, will Holy Trinity reduce tuition costs?
The simple answer to that is no. Even though the school year is going to look different, as Dr. Paden said, there are still going to be 5 days of instruction. There's going to be rigorous academic experience. We will still be there to support the moral and the spiritual development of our students. Our tuition revenue really assists us in the payment of our faculty and staff, who will do wonderful work as they always have done. Their schedules haven't changed. In fact, in many cases, their schedules have increased as a result of this dual, some students at school, some students at home. In fact, we have actually expended considerable sums in preparing the building for the students that will be here and also for remote learning. Having said that, if there's a specific family situation, if it's COVID related, we will always be willing to listen. As you all know, we have a very generous financial assistance fund. Mr. Malloy and Mr. Swanson do a great job with that. So in general, the answer is no. Specifically, if you're experiencing issues, please know and reach out to us and we will be helpful.
Okay. The next question that we have, and I believe this is a question that our Assistant Principal, Mahone, can answer. Will Holy Trinity have counselors available to students who may be concerned about COVID-19?
Yes, good evening, Holy Trinity family. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to meeting you in the near future. We do have on-site staff, counselors that will be starting within the next week. So our counselors focus on academic, social, emotional, and college readiness. And I've received a lot of phone calls in regards to the anxiety around COVID-19, and I totally understand. Counselors will be here to support your child, as well as telehealth services that we are looking into. We're also partnered with several outreach services that focus on anxiety, study skills, and organization. So those partnerships through the youth outreach services, as well as United Stand, offer those supports in addition to any COVID-19 anxiety or situations going on in home. Thank you.
The next question kind of ties, we got some questions in the Q&A, and these sort of tie in together. So the question is, when will students receive their schedules, also books and computers? And then as an addition to that question, is it mandatory that students attend the orientation in person?
Yes, the orientations are mandatory. And that's because we have to give your student a Chromebook, as well as an opportunity to get the books that will be here that they need for class. So they'll be getting their Chromebooks, and they'll be getting books during orientation. The schedules are a little different. The schedules are ready to go, and they are going to be mailed out. What we've been waiting for is just the last parents to tell us which cohort do they want to put their child in, a hybrid system or e-learning, 5 days a week.
Okay, thank you for that. The next question that we have is, if the students does e-learning during the fall semester, will the student be able to go in class during the spring semester if the COVID-19 situation improves?
Yes. We will be reevaluating and probably having another meeting like this after Thanksgiving, in which parents will be able to say, you know, we did e-learning in the fall, but I think my son or daughter is ready to go back into the building in the spring. In addition to that, many of you are asking if we chose hybrid to begin the semester, can we go to e-learning if, let's say, someone comes down with the virus? The answer is yes, you can. However, if you are e-learning all 5 days of the week and wish to change to hybrid, let's say a month from now, you will not be permitted to do so, and I'll say why. The first reason is if we have students who are on a video game or maybe stayed out a little bit too late the night before, instead of coming to the building, they say to the mom and dad, you know what, Mom, I don't feel like going to school today. I'm gonna e-learn. That we have to prevent. All of the names are in the system, and if we have them down as coming into the building, we expect them to come to the building. But we want to make sure that we don't have a situation where students can go back and forth depending upon how they feel day to day. But if you want to go from hybrid to e-learning at any time, you're free to do so.
The next question is about fall sports, and it simply asks, are we going to have fall sports?
IHSA has recently come out with some guidelines. They have indicated that boys soccer and girls volleyball can begin contact practices and conditioning in the fall. Now, some sports we don't have to worry about. Sports like football, we don't have a football team. Basketball has not yet been approved for the fall. Neither is any other sports that are typical of the fall semester. But I'll be honest with you. Me and my team have reservations about going forward with sports, especially competitive sports. Right now, we've talked to all of our coaches, and our coaches are communicating with your student athletes. Some of them are actually even coming to the building and are doing talks on nutrition, flexibility, strength, and conditioning. But they're only coming 3 or 4 at a time because we want to make sure that we can socially distance. More information about fall sports will be upcoming and will come further.
Thank you. The next question is what classes will be online and which will be in person?
All classes will be online and in person.
And as a follow-up to that question, how many kids will be in each class?
Because of the cohort model, we're expecting anywhere between 5 and about 13 or 14 students in each class.
We're getting a lot of questions in the Q&A about freshman orientation and parent orientation. Folks are asking, will these be held in person?
Yeah, so I'll speak to that. Monday, August 17th, we have our freshman orientation for students. That's when freshmen, it's from 8 o'clock until 1 p.m. Freshmen will receive their Chromebooks, go over orientation with our link crew, go over safety measures, introduction to the staff, administration, faculty, and go over the expectations in school as well as e-learning. Parents, we will send out the Chromebook technology consent form ahead of time. So we're asking that you have your child bring that consent form for technology to freshmen and new transfer student orientation. That's August 17th from 8 a.m. until 1 p.m. The second day, August 18th, we have all parent orientation. We will distribute Chromebooks from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. It will be a staggered schedule. Those details are to come for sophomores, juniors, and seniors. We'll send out the schedule. It will be in alpha order. Parent orientation for all students, all parents will be that evening here at the school from 6 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. We will also have it recorded for those of you that cannot make it, and you can access that via through email or on the website or YouTube, where we're still working those details out.
Yes. I just want to bring this question up because a lot of people are asking about this as well. In full transparency, Chicago Public Schools just announced that they will be remote for the fall semester. So the question that a lot of people have is because CPS has now decided to move all of their classes online for the fall semester, will Holy Trinity follow suit?
No. Holy Trinity will not follow suit with CPS. Holy Trinity can only be closed down by Governor Pritzker or for a 14-day quarantine if someone tests positive for the virus.
Answer that, okay. Another question that has come up is that how will clubs or after-school activities meet if a student is, for example, e-learning? Will that student be allowed to come to the building to participate in those clubs, or how will that work for the fall semester?
That's an interesting question because if a parent is indicating that they want their child to e-learn for all 5 days, thereby not coming into the building, that they're willing to allow their child to come to the building for a club or an organization. We are okay with that, just as long as the parent is okay with that.
Someone else mentioned, this is another question. Well, can we also mention that Holy Trinity is a testing site for the ACT? A few seniors were not aware.
So some ACT testing site has opened up the window for test dates. I sent the email to seniors that did register in the fall that were not able to take their ACT test. I'm sorry, in the spring, not the fall of this past year. If they would like, to email me their names and I can schedule registration for ACT testing this September for the seniors only that registered last spring that were not able to take it.
Next question, if one student tests positive in the cohort, does each student in the cohort need to bring a negative test in order to return to the building?
No, only the student who tested positive will have to bring medical documentation that they are now negative.
Will, the next question, thank you for that answer. The next question, would the school be able to organize a school bus in order to ensure safety for students?
I can take that one, Charles. We looked at this, but unfortunately, given the vast area that our students come from to go to Holy Trinity, something like 50 plus zip codes, and the limitation of our buses, there's no practical way to really accomplish transportation. So unfortunately, the answer is no.
Okay. So the next question is, if you have chosen the 100% remote option, will Holy Trinity staff use the same curriculum to teach the students, or outside staff or a different curriculum?
That is correct.
And then following up to that question, someone has asked, can all the teachers make sure that they are using Google Classroom or Zoom or any online format to teach their subject on e-learning days? Question goes on to say FaceTime regularly is very important, and I feel that during the last quarter, the students were just being sent work and not getting the full learning experience.
Yes, I've met with our faculty several times to make sure that e-learning is as close to a classroom experience as possible. That's why we installed cameras in each classroom. So now all a teacher has to do is send out the invite and turn on their camera. The student must click on the invite and they will be in the class. Now on e-learning day, that can still happen. The teacher just would be at home or will tell the student exactly what needs to be done for that day.
Someone else asked, will e-learning be like last year where we will be marked absent if our work isn't completed? I had many absences. I believe this is a student asking this. I had many absences last year for this reason.
No, we are expecting students to attend class from home every day of every period.
Someone is asking, link crew leaders are still prohibited to come to freshman orientation, correct?
Prohibited?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
Link crew members are definitely in orientation. They work freshman orientation.
Okay. Will students receive, let me do this question. Will driver's ed still be offered?
Tim, could you answer that?
Yeah, that's a good question. At this point, I don't believe it will, but I guarantee you that we will have a better answer for you within the next few days as we work through it. Originally, when we talked about it, we decided that given the fact that it was after school, the students would have to stay here longer, prolonging the day, that might not be a good idea. But we're still talking through it, and I'll make sure that everyone has an answer. Just stay tuned to the parent news as we work out some of these details.
Right. Another question that we have, if a teacher is absent from the building on a school day, will we have a substitute? How would that work?
It'll work as it always has. We will get a substitute teacher.
Another interesting question that someone just asked, what if you are having internet issues? How will that be dealt with? Networks are overwhelmed with everyone e-learning in the spring and parents working from home at the same time.
Excellent question. Now, we were told that in the spring, we didn't really have a lot of connectivity issues, but we know things can change. So we ordered about 40 mobile hotspots that give excellent internet connectivity. If a student is having issues with their connection or their Wi-Fi, all they have to do is let us know, and we will get them one of those mobile hotspots.
Are service learning hours still required, at least for this semester?
Tim, you want to take that one?
Yes. No service learning hours are going to be required for this semester. We'll reevaluate it at the end of the first semester to see what the conditions are and what we do for second semester. So no service hours this semester.
Another question that we have is, what will happen if we are still facing the pandemic after the fall ends? Would we still follow the same format in the spring that we're following now?
That is correct.
A parent question, she asks, which classes will not have cameras where the students will be able to join the class via e-learning, presumably gym?
Only 3 teachers requested not to have a camera. One of them may be changing their minds on that, and she is a sophomore math teacher. We just have to still meet. The other 2, one was a sophomore English teacher and our art teacher. And those 2 will not have cameras. Those 2 will be doing video casts, which are pre-recorded presentations. So the child will still see their teacher. A series of our computer applications that can still deliver quality e-learning, PowerPoint presentations, et cetera, et cetera. But those teachers will be in constant contact with their students, and I'll be in constant contact with those teachers.
Will we offer the high school fairs this year? I think that's.
You mean if you're talking about the club organization fair, we will, but it'll be virtual this year, not in person.
Another question is, how are the cohorts determined?
Excellent question. We actually were a little sophisticated on this. So we looked at siblings. Holy Trinity has a massive number of siblings. I believe we have 47 sets of siblings at this school. So we wanted to make sure that most, if not all of those siblings were all in the same cohort, because if they're all driving in the same car, we just thought that would be easier and simpler. In addition to that, we took some classes that didn't have a lot of students in them. We put those students who were taking those classes into the cohort. All the students that were remaining basically went into the gold cohort. Now, we've been shuffling this for the last few days because many of you have told us you want your child to do e-learning. And many of you have not told us what your preference is. So we are still waiting for those parents to let us know.
A question that we have about carriers of COVID. Has the school taken asymptomatic carriers of COVID-19 into consideration? Temperature or other symptoms may not always be present, but if a staff or child comes into contact with a carrier, they can get sick.
Yeah, it's an excellent question, and we have taken that into consideration. Other parents have asked about this, and when we first started getting that question, we knew we had to offer e-learning 5 days a week. So if your concern is that a carrier could be asymptomatic, it's a good concern. If that's you, e-learning 5 days a week probably should be your choice.
In terms of lunch, a question that came in is that can kids pre-order lunch and just pick it up in order to avoid lines and to maintain social distance?
We feel like we can maintain social distancing in the cafeteria. We went ahead and purchased floor markings to put on the floor to make sure that students, as long as they stayed on them, would be 6 feet apart. And because we split everybody into cohorts, and because we have an e-learning option, we're only expecting about 30 to 50 students to be in the cafeteria at once. So we believe social distancing can be maintained. We would prefer that students go to lunch in the cafeteria as normal.
A parent asks, what will be the process of a student changing from hybrid to e-learning mid-semester? Also, I understand that students are not able to change from e-learning to go hybrid mid-semester, but are we allowed to change learning options for a new semester either way?
So, as I mentioned, if your student is hybrid right now, and let's say someone comes down with the virus, or let's just say as a parent, as the mood of the country continues to shift, you feel a little uneasy and you want your child to go e-learning. You may do that. All you have to do is let my office know of your change, and we'll change it in the system, and then we will expect your child to be e-learning every single day. After Thanksgiving, we will reevaluate everything, not only what we're doing, but also what's going on in the country. How's the virus doing? Where are we with the vaccine, et cetera, et cetera. If we determine that we need to continue doing this for the spring semester, we will. And we will come to you again, and we will ask you, do you want your child to be e-learning 5 days a week or accept a hybrid model?
Question about freshman orientation. On freshman orientation days, do students need to be in uniform? If so, how can we get the uniforms beforehand?
Students do not have to arrive in uniform for orientation day. Again, August 17th will be the freshman orientation from 8 a.m. till 1, and new transferred students. So any new transfer students will attend that session as well from 8 to 1. You do not have to wear uniform. The all-parent orientation, again, is on the 18th, and that's from 6 p.m. to 7:30.
Now, parents who have children who have been here before, the uniform guide has not changed. So whatever you did for uniforms last year still remains the same. For freshmen, your uniform guide is arriving in the mail or can be found on our website.
Will we still have masks?
Yes, there will be 4 different masses throughout the semester. 2 of them will be during days where the gold students are here, or the gold cohort. The other 2 will be days where the blue students are here, or the blue cohort. That will always continue. Those masses will be held from the church, but students will go to homeroom and will log in with their Chromebooks and watch Mass on camera.
Another question about the book list. It says, can parents get the book list this week if we already picked e-learning? School starts soon, and many of us like to find cheaper books and they take long to get.
Yes. I've spoken to my staff about possibly having to do 2 mailings. One, so we can get it out for those parents who've already selected. But we would love if the rest of our parents could choose which attendance preference they would have, and then we could send everyone's out.
Another question that people are asking about the 14-day shutdown is that if the school closes due to a positive COVID case, will the school go into full remote mode during that period, or will there be no instruction for the entire school?
There will always be instruction, and it will be 5 days a week, 8 periods a day. So yes, there will be instruction, and it'll come in the form of either a Zoom or Google Meet invite, kind of like the one we're in right now, or something designated by the teacher, where the student will still have contact with the teacher, but also be mandated to continue working, studying, doing their assignments as normal.
Will students be able to just bring their own lunch if they're in the building?
Could you say that again, Charles?
Yes. Will students be able to bring their own lunch if they decide, if they want to do that?
Yes.
AP Art and Ceramics requires a portfolio at the end of the year. Will students be given extra time to work on portfolios? And will they be able to go to class early or spend lunch in class? What will they do on remote days?
That'll be up to the art teacher herself. And I have been in contact with her. We've actually talked about ceramics, and she is handling the e-learning portion of that class. So my advice to that student is just to simply listen to what your teacher wants you to do, and you'll get through the semester just fine.
Another question, a question about cleaning rather. Folks are asking, will we have hand sanitizers available throughout the building in the classrooms? And then also, are students required to bring their own wipes to wipe down their personal spaces?
Hand sanitizer is available in not only all the classrooms, but also in our hallways. Students are not required to bring their own wipes. Those wipes will be provided for them.
Hey, Charles, maybe we should mention that I think most people know that Holy Trinity has a relationship with a cleaning company that would come to the school each and every school day in the evening to clean the entire building for the next day's school. This year, we have actually hired them to have people on staff during the school day to handle and clean those common areas that we are all concerned about. So it's not only the cleaning that happens inside the classroom, but we also have a plan to clean the outside and common areas as well as the overall building each and every day.
This is an interesting question, but I think one that warrants to be asked. And this person asks, how many people will be allowed in a restroom at a single time?
Great question. As of right now, we're thinking no more than 2 at one time.
Will the water fountains, as a follow-up to that question, will the water fountains be in use, or will kids need to bring their own water bottles? If they need to bring their own bottles, what will be the procedure if they need to take a drink of water?
Well, I can help answer that. Guidelines for good health and safety calls for the fountains to not be in use. So we will encourage those to bring water bottles. We have, however, purchased water bottle fillers that will be at the stations where the water fountains are now. So that even though people will not be able to actually drink from the fountain, they will be able to bring their water bottle, fill up their water bottle at the fountain, and then they will be able to drink accordingly. During the school year, we have had no regulations against students drinking their water bottles during class time. So no, there should be no problem with that at all.
I'm not sure if we answered this already, but another common question that's coming up that people are asking is that when are we students, or this is the student is asking this time, is that when are we students going to have our Gold and Blue Day schedules?
Schedules are ready to go out. We're ready. We're waiting on our parents to let us know which model their child will be using. Well, what we don't want is if we go ahead and designate your child hybrid and then we give them a blue designation, we're expecting to see them in the building. But if you're keeping them at home, initially that's going to cause a lot of confusion. Those of you who have already done so will be looking to send yours out this week. Those of you parents who have not told us anything, please help us out and let us know.
Someone is asking, how is advanced / concert band going to work, because it is usually during lunch?
Great question. Concert band as well as beginning band will go on as scheduled. You guys will be in the auditorium, but your seating arrangements are going to be a lot different. All band members will be seating on the first row of the auditorium. We have purchased dividers to divide between you and the student sitting next to you. Now, students won't be sitting next to you. You guys should be 3 to 4 chairs apart. Your band director will be on stage and will also have protection from you guys. The blast from a trumpet, unlike a cough, can go about 20 to 30 feet. So we want to make sure that our band director is fully protected by one of those same dividers that I just mentioned students will be using. But band, as well as beginning band, will continue.
These two questions sort of tie together, so I'm going to ask them together. The first part is, will there be homecoming, and will we still have senior nights?
Homecoming will look a lot different this year. I can tell you there will not be a homecoming dance. I don't expect to see a homecoming dance anywhere in America. So yes, but we do want to do something, and it may be virtual. We haven't completely decided yet, but we did decide there won't be a homecoming dance. Senior night will happen, but it'll happen probably in a virtual format.
Someone raised a point in the chat. It says, at this point, the school should make the selection for the parents who haven't responded. She says it's unfair that people that already made the selection to have to wait on them. We were given a deadline for a reason, and it should be respected. Dr. Paden, you want to respond?
And I completely agree with Ms. Salgado. The only thing that I would say to that is this is a huge decision to make. You guys are determining if whether or not your kids are coming into the building or will be staying home. And I know a lot goes into that decision. Many of your children want to come back to school, maybe because they're bored or they're just ready. This is the time of fall renewal, and young people are used to going to school at this time. But that has to be weighted against the risk. And there is risk. So we want to acknowledge that. And we want to say to parents who have not yet decided, we understand. But at some point, we do need to know. The school year will be starting in a little bit over 2 weeks. And we want to make sure that we are organized alongside your child to provide the type of instruction that Holy Trinity provides. And we need that information.
Someone else is asking if we have gym, does that mean we are able to wear comfortable clothes for gym class, or are we going to need Holy Trinity gym clothes?
Holy Trinity gym clothes.
Okay.
Every time you walk in the building, Holy Trinity clothes.
Will all teachers be working in the building every day except Wednesday? That's a question that someone just asked.
Correct.
A question about AP classes. Will AP classes change?
No.
Okay. If it is going to still be hot regardless of the fans, why do we still need to wear a full uniform? That's a question that someone has asked.
Tim, you want to talk about our new ceiling fans?
Yes, we're very proud of that. They're actually being installed as we speak. We have taken a lot of time to choose the right fan for the right circulation at Holy Trinity. We've actually had a couple different models in, and we've tested it. We think that with these ceiling fans, all working in conjunction with one another, the ventilation in the building will be much better than it's ever been, and students will at least be able to learn in a comfortable environment. So the answer to your question is it's important to wear a uniform, and we have taken the appropriate steps, we believe, into improving the ventilation not only in the school but also the hallways.
Speaking of hallways, we have a few questions left. Speaking of hallways, what will passing periods look like?
Passing periods will be about the same. I believe there are 4 minutes in between each class. And so, and I didn't mention this in my outset. Passing periods will be the same, but maybe a little bit more efficient because students will not be permitted to use their lockers. The Illinois State Board of Education has indicated to us that usage of lockers, now I'm not just talking about the locker room, but all lockers cannot be used by students this semester. What that means is your book bag and anything else you bring to school that day will have to stay on your person. Right now, one of our committees is thinking about how we're going to do this when it gets cold out. Students will have coats, jackets, gloves, boots, etc. And we're going to have to figure out how that's going to happen. But as of right now, everything stays on your person.
We have someone that just needs some clarification. This person asks, if I choose for my child to be e-learning, does that mean that is the final answer, or is it a poll depending on the survey we submitted last week, meaning some students will only do e-learning and others hybrid?
I don't know if I understand the question.
So I believe the person is asking, so I'll just say it again. She said, or the person says, if I choose for my child to be e-learning, does that mean that that is the final answer? I believe we had maybe answered that earlier. But
Yes. Yes, if you choose e-learning, your child is e-learning for the fall semester.
Ernest asks, while this decision is vital to the success of the upcoming school year, how long before we need to submit a decision? I think we answered that.
We really need your decision as soon as possible so your student can get their schedule, uniform guide, book list. Those things are equally as important, no matter what you decide.
Someone is asking a question about temperatures. Why is the school choosing 100.3 body temperature? I work in healthcare, and we cannot see patients who have a temperature of 100 degrees or more.
I totally agree. But that temperature was recommended to us by the Illinois State Board of Education. And as so far as I know, every Catholic high school institution is also using that barometer.
Will there still be shadow days?
Yes.
Another question is about the teachers is, why is it optional for a teacher to opt out cameras in the classroom?
We didn't want to mandate that per se. We talked about if they didn't want a camera, what else could they do? And what else they wanted to do had to measure up to what is considered e-learning instruction. And there are lots of guidelines on what is e-learning. So we wanted to make sure it wasn't anything like, I'm just gonna send some work home with this student. That is not e-learning. E-learning has to be in structure, number one, that's delivered by an electronic device that also meets the criteria, not only of what the Illinois State Board considers e-learning, but also what Holy Trinity considers e-learning. High quality instruction, no different than what a child would get in the classroom. So if they were able to meet that, then we allowed it. But I think as of right now, it's only 2 instructors. There's a third one, but I think it's another issue. And I think once we speak to her, she'll be on board.
We just have 3 questions left. Am I correct that we will reevaluate e-learning versus hybrid after Thanksgiving and be given the option again to choose either at or after Thanksgiving? Will we not have to wait until after the new year to change?
So what you choose now is for the fall semester. After Thanksgiving, I'm gonna pull us all again together and I'm gonna ask you again, what would you like for the spring semester? We're just gonna do it after Thanksgiving. Those of you who are hybrid, and you're having some concerns about your child being in the building, you can change to e-learning. But if you choose e-learning now, it's e-learning for the whole semester.
And speaking about that, is there any idea how many families have chosen hybrid versus full e-learning?
Yes, as of right now, there are 97 families that have chosen e-learning.
Since the book lists won't be sent via email or to those of us that have already selected our option, will we be given additional time to buy the necessary books that are needed when school starts?
Yes,
Who will be able to see students doing video, doing video e-learning, just the teachers or the students as well? I think that's what that question is asking.
who will the students be able to see?
Who will be able to see the students? I'm sorry. Who will be able to see the students doing e-learning? It will be just the teachers and the students, correct?
Yes, however, students will also have access to their school counselor. Students will have access to our resource learning center and the tutors that are in there, as well as the coordinator. Students will have access, certainly via email, to anyone in the building if they need help academically, or if they have a social emotional issue in need of counseling, needs to speak to an administrator. Students will always have access to do that.
Hey, Quincy, I think the question maybe was looking at what does the camera show in the classroom? What does the teacher see, and do they show the other students in the class?
The camera will be pointed towards the teacher and their dry erase board. The students that are at home e-learning will only see the teacher. The teacher will only see the students at home e-learning. The students in the class, they won't see any of the students that are at home. They'll only be able to see the teacher. So in short, all students will only see the teacher. Now, the camera also captures about 80% of the dry erase board. So teachers can instruct and teach as normal, so long as they stay within that 80% of their board.
One question that I saw come up twice, and that was just asked, are there replacements for the counselors that left as of yet?
Yes.
And then the last, is the homework load going to be normal given that students will be on the computer for more than 6 hours?
Yes.
Okay, let me see, because this person arrived late. No worries. But if we choose e-learning, are the students required to be in uniform? And I think that answer is no.
Correct.
Okay. Just going through the questions here. Will school finish at 3 p.m. online and in person?
Correct.
Okay.
Normal day, every day.
This is an interesting question. I think this is for those that choose e-learning and may need tutoring. Will tutoring also be available online?
Yes, and I just mentioned that students will have access to tutors and our coordinator in our resource learning center. Students will also have access to their teachers if they want to go directly to them for help.
And then the last question that we have is, will Schoology, I hope I'm saying that right, still be the platform for posting assignments?
Yes.
Okay. Can we finish our online homework before the end of the school day on e-learning?
Your online homework is due when your teacher says it is due, not after at all. It'll be like a normal day.
Okay. I'm just checking the chat to make sure we didn't miss anything. Okay. I think we answered. Wait. Okay. Another question. How is letters of recommendation going to work for seniors?
Same as normal.
And then I think this will be the last question. Who do we need to contact regarding schoolboy? I'm not sure what schoolboy is. Or maybe that person, Charlotte, I'm not sure if you meant schoolboy or schoolology.
Schoolology is still in use,
Okay.
as always. One last thing I want to say, because some of you are asking, how can I make my choice? I didn't get the survey. You have two options. Number one, you can contact Alejandra Saavedra at her email address, which is aSaavedra@holytrinity-hs.org, and it's listed right now in the Zoom webinar chat as the last chat. Or you can simply just email me, and my email address is qpaden@holytrinity-hs.org. If you know it now, feel free to email us now and let us know, and we can begin getting everything out tomorrow.
All right, yeah, go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, one last question that I think is important that needs to be asked. So someone asked that how if Dr. Gardner, I'm assuming that's the former counselor, left, we need letters. Wait, let me be sure. The question is, how can seniors get their transcripts since the counselors aren't responding?
Seniors can get their transcripts by contacting the main office, specifically Linda Bannon. You can either make arrangements to come up and pick it up in person, or you can contact Linda and she can mail it to you.
Okay.
You know, I think there's going to be some seniors that are going to be anxious because they don't know the new counselor and they're wondering about how the new counselor can write a letter of recommendation for them when they haven't met them yet. I think it's a legitimate question. So a couple of things. I am here. Your teachers are here that know you. And even though they aren't in the building yet, they will be shortly in the building. And this has been a summer like they've never had before. So they have been on their email all summer. So for those of you that are anxious, that are seniors and wanting to know, oh my gosh, Dr. Gardner isn't here, what do? I don't know the new counselor. Think through the fact that there's a lot of contacts here at Holy Trinity that you've made. Your teachers are more than willing many times to write, and I would suggest that you write them now before the school year starts. Some of the staff members know you well, whether it be business office, development office, administration. There are a lot of people here who know you, that care for you, and would be willing to step in and lurch until your counselor is on board and gets to know you better. So no panic. There's plenty of people here that know and care for you and would be willing to get you started on your letters of recommendation.
Just as another note, someone asked, will this be available for posting later? And yes, we are recording this, and this will be available via our YouTube channel very shortly for viewing, and we will send the link out to parents, to the entire community to rewatch this webinar at your own convenience. Just real quick before we leave, I think someone asked, I signed up to be a link crew leader, but I never heard back to see if I was going to be at the orientation or not. Who can I contact for that?
You can contact me, Nara Mahone. I'll give you my email and I'll type it in the chat box, nmahone@holytrinity-hs.org. And I'll type it in the chat box for anybody, any other link crew leaders that are interested.
There are other questions, so let's be sure that we get those. Are ACT prep classes going to be on Zoom as well?
Not that I'm aware of. I am still in communication with ACT and figuring out dates and looking to see if we will be a test site. We are still working out those details right now.
Yeah, Nara, I think the question was in regards to prep for them, whether it be our ACT UP program or academic approach. I think we're still working out the details on those as well.
We have a committee and we're still working out those details as to what that will look like. I did reach out to a few of the coordinators for those programs, and I'm just waiting to hear back specifics.
Charles, I see one of the questions is in regards to background checks for the cleaning crew.
Yes.
That happens already. They have to certify us, give us background checks on everybody that's in the building. So the answer to that is yes.
Will the retreats still take place?
Yes, retreats will take place, but they're going to be a little different this year. And we'll be explaining that to all the students that are e-learning and also in the building when school starts.
Will fabric reusable masks be okay to use?
You can use a mask that is reusable. I use one every day. I just wash it every other week. So you can do that.
Who is the dean?
We do have a new dean. Her name is Dr. Bernada Baker. I think you guys are going to really like her. She's done some things in the college realms, but she's also worked at CPS and at Austin High School. So you guys will meet her first day of school.
Okay. And I'm not sure who Mr. O is, but is Mr. O gone?
Yes, I can answer that. Mr. O is no longer at Holy Trinity.
No shade, but who is Mr. Charles Jefferson? Okay, so I think I can answer that. Okay, so I'm Charles. Good evening, everybody. I am the new Director of Marketing and Communications. I replaced Miss Sarah Clark. And this is my third week at Holy Trinity. And I'm very excited to meet all of you at some point. And I'm very excited to be a part of the Holy Trinity family. So no shade at all, no shade at all.
It was an eclipse. That's how much it was.
Okay, I think that may be it.
Check the chat box, webinar chat box, Charles.
Can we have Miss Mahone's email? Yes, she will put that in the chat. Is Ms. Hogan still the counselor for the juniors?
Yes.
And then can we get the emails of the new counselors, please?
Our new counselor was recently just hired, and I think she will have an email address tomorrow, so we can send that out. But if you guys need letters of recommendation, don't ask anyone that you do not know. You should ask people who you do know and who know you. The new counselor, well, know what to write for your letter of recommendation.
Okay, I think these questions have been answered, but I'll just say them anyway. I tried to email Ms. Hogan and got a message saying that she was on leave. I think we answered that. If she's on leave, who do we direct our questions to? When will Ms. Hogan return? I guess is the bigger question.
I think she's due back mid-September. Is that right, Tim?
That's correct.
So she'll be out the first month of school.
Okay, I think that's it. I think we got through all of those questions.
Well, I want to thank everybody tonight for their patience. I want to thank the panelists. Holy Trinity is still a great place. It's going to look a little bit different this year, but I know that Holy Trinity has always been resilient. Holy Trinity students have always been able to understand that things change. Our faculty and staff is as dedicated as it has always been. So we are looking for a great year. We are looking for the opportunity to be Holy Trinity once again. And I think what is most important of all is communication. Many of you have been patient with us through the summer. Please know that our inability to communicate with you has not been as a result of anything other than the fact that we have been working hard to make the right decisions for your child. And there's been a lot of research. There's been infinite meetings. There's been hours and hours on top of discussion and work to make sure that we can be the Holy Trinity that your student needs. So as we move forward, we promise that communication will be our utmost concern. And as always, never feel shy about communicating with us, emailing us, calling us if you have a question. If there's something that we missed tonight, please don't feel the slightest reticence in regarding contacting either Charles, Dr. Quincy, Nara, or myself. We are always here for you. So God bless you all. Thank you again. Go Tigers. Go ahead, Quincy.
The nurse, did you want to ask the parents something about that?
Well, it'll come out in the parent news, but we certainly can. As Dr. Paden mentioned, we are looking for a nurse to assist us Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday of most weeks, 4 days a week, from 7 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. during the school day. If you are interested, if you know somebody that's interested, please contact Dr. Paden. In addition to that, there will be information going out in the news about volunteer opportunities if anybody's interested in helping out in the school. With the way that things are developing, there's a great need for supervision this year, probably more so than we've ever had. And our faculty and staff will be stressed to the limit. So if anybody is looking to volunteer in the school, some kind of supervisory capacity or help with our security desk, that would be most appreciated. If you're interested in doing that, you can contact Nara or myself. Quincy, any final comments?
We're ready to roll.
That sounds great to me. We are HT. Thanks, everybody. God bless.
Take care, everybody.